this community is prepared and has ways to pretty much combat the spread of the measles. We know 9 cases have been confirmed in our state in Oconto County. We have our Jason Calvi, who's going to be talking about that and looking at that a little bit later with us here on our digital broadcast this afternoon. He's going to talk about ways that you can protect yourself, what symptoms to look out for, how unfortunately health department workers are seeing vaccination rates slow. There are not a lot of people getting vaccinated against this disease. This is an airborne virus. So he's going to unpack all of that, what this means for you, and how the city of Milwaukee is preparing for the potential spread of the measles. We're also following this other investigation here in our community. It's kind of a parent's worst nightmare. It happened in Oak Creek. There was a home invasion. There are 3 guys caught on camera of a home surveillance camera breaking into this family's home with 2 children inside. They managed to call 911. Our Christina Venzels is following that investigation for us. She'll be on the digital broadcast here a little bit later as we progress. Of course, if you look through the skies or if you're outside, then you know how hazy it is and how difficult it may be to breathe or be outside in. It's the air quality. It's not looking good at all. Of course, in response to the wildfires that we are experiencing, that our neighbors to the north are experiencing in Canada. So we're unpacking those 3 main headline stories. Of course, again, independent of that, what's happening around the nation, what's happening politically, what's happening in our own community with regard to other festivals happening. Got the Wisconsin State Fair happening in our own backyard, as well as a Bronzeville Festival. So a lot to get to here on the first hour of the Wisconsin Live Desk. Again, we are standing by waiting for our Jason Calvi to unpack one of our main stories that we're following today about the spread of the measles. Milwaukee County health leaders already kind of getting prepared for what's to come. They're kind of updating us on what they're expecting to see, how they're expecting to treat this virus, and how it is going to impact you should you unfortunately come in contact with it. So all that and more as we get you set up here on the Wisconsin Live Desk for Monday, August 4th, here at 12:32. So a lot happening here. I believe Jason is getting ready to be ready for us. We'll put him on standby here. My man Jason in the newsroom. Jason, we know health leaders held like a bit of a news conference this afternoon, kind of updating us as to how they are getting prepared for the spread of measles. We know there's been cases confirmed in our state already. 9 of them, I believe, in Oconto County. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, brother. So you have to get a correct pronunciation for me. What can you tell us about this news conference, Jason?
Yeah, so we're seeing both city leaders here in Milwaukee saying they're getting ready. We're hearing from the state leaders as well, Donovan. It's Oconto County up north, about a little bit outside of Green Bay, that had the first measles cases in the state of Wisconsin. We've seen all of our neighboring states already have measles cases. And so Wisconsin, this is the first cases of measles that we're seeing. And a case of what the state is saying are people that traveled out of the state and potentially that are the ones that have tested positive in Wisconsin. So we're going to hear this afternoon, we're going to hear from state health leaders, and we just heard from city health leaders this morning as well about exactly what they're doing to prepare. And what we heard from the health commissioner here in Milwaukee, Donovan, is they anticipate potential measles cases coming into Wisconsin because of all the measles cases we've seen across the country, growing cases really growing, including in our Midwestern neighboring states. There's been a number of things that the city's been doing to prepare in case potentially measles would come to the state. Now, as of this weekend, the state is confirming that there is indeed measles in Wisconsin. So what they're doing is ordering more doses of the MMR, that's measles, mumps, rubella vaccine, that will be available at the Milwaukee health clinics. They're going to be providing that for free. So no matter what your insurance is right now, whatever your coverage provides, you can go to the Milwaukee Health Department. There are various health clinics across the city to get that free dose, the free shot of the MMR, which would be the measles vaccination. So looking at that right now is what they're doing. They've ordered 800 additional doses of that vaccine in Milwaukee. And in a little bit, we're going to hear exactly what the state leaders are doing as well, as now measles have come to Wisconsin. Donovan?
Jason, talk about this for me if you can. Is there an issue with people not getting vaccinated against this virus?
Yeah, that's part of the case that we're dealing with. as far as what we've seen nationwide with this uptick in measles cases, where people have not been getting their vaccines. Let me get the data. I've got it in front of me here as far as the percentage of cases that we're seeing. So according to some health data we got today, as of late July, there were 1,200 measles cases in the United States, 1,200 measles cases in the United States, and as of this weekend, 9 cases in Wisconsin. So that is what we know about that. And as far as the percentage of those people that were infected with measles, how many of them don't have the vaccine, trying to get that data in front of you as soon as I possibly can here, Donovan. But we do know that statewide, Wisconsin ranks among the 3 lowest states in the entire country for kindergarten measles vaccination rates. 84% of kindergartners in Wisconsin are fully vaccinated. So that is one of the lowest in the country, one of the 3 lowest in the country for kindergarten vaccination rates in Wisconsin. One of the things that's interesting is Wisconsin does allow parents to opt out of vaccines. There's several exemptions that the state offers, not just for medical. They also offer a religious or a personal. If you have personal reasons against that vaccine, you can sign a form pretty much saying that you're opting out of providing that vaccine to your child. When you go to register for school, that is a form that you can fill out. So that's something we're interested. So I told you that across Wisconsin, the vaccine rates for kindergartners 84%, and that is according to CDC data. According to the Wisconsin database, the immunization registry, 75% of 6-year-olds in Milwaukee have received both recommended doses of the MMR vaccine. And then when you jump up to 18-year-olds, that number jumps to 88%. So 88% of Wisconsin Milwaukee 18-year-olds are fully vaccinated with an MMR shot.
Jason, I want to ask you too, for folks who are kind of joining us, not knowing too much about this virus, how does it spread? What are the symptoms?
Sure. So there's a couple symptoms you're going to look out for, and it really is, when I tell you the initial symptoms, you're going to say, well, that sounds potentially like any common cold potentially. So some of the symptoms, but the key is that trademark measles rash that you're going to see would be a telltale sign, which is different from some of the other symptoms I'll go through here, which might sound like the common cold when I go through them. But that rash that often will start in the head and then work its way down, that is one of those telltale signs that you're dealing with measles. And some of the other signs and symptoms would be a high fever, the runny nose, the cough, red watery eyes. But again, that rash starting at the hairline and then working its way down would really be a concern. If you see that on a child or your own self, that would be a sign to go get tested. What we've seen with medical professionals in Milwaukee, and I'm assuming statewide, is when they've had some of these symptoms, they are doing more testing of children. They're doing more testing to try to rule out whether we're dealing with measles or some sort of other virus or flu or something like that. So medical professionals, because we're seeing cases growing across the entire country, have been ramping up testing. Somebody comes in that has a sickness, there's okay, let's give you the measles test, test you for measles and find out how you're doing. And so far, up until Friday, when these people have been coming in, the tests have been clear, but now as of Friday, the state is confirming these 9 cases in Oconto County, which is again north of Green Bay.
You heard from the county leaders first, right? And you're expecting to hear from city here a little bit later.
Yeah, we heard from the city leaders. We heard from Milwaukee city leaders about what they're doing. Kind of they're ramping up their purchasing of doses of the vaccine to really equip themselves for the possibility that we're the largest city in Wisconsin, so they're really getting ready for the possibility that potentially measles could come to Milwaukee. Right now, that's not the case, but we do have vaccine. We do have some of these infections that have happened in Wisconsin now with these cases in Oconto County. So they're really ramping that up. They're going to be also working with the schools where potentially maybe there's a lower vaccination rates in some of the schools. So they're going to go to those and say, hey, we've got these these free vaccines we can offer. Let's try to get those numbers up in some of these schools where the health commissioner here in Milwaukee said, some of the lowest numbers they've seen in some schools was like 60% of the student population were vaccinated fully against measles. So we'll see where they go from here, but they're definitely keeping their eyes on that as they move forward here.
Jason, I want to ask you, just by virtue of just sitting and listening to the news conference, participating in it as well, were you able to gauge, like, is there a fear that our health workers have, A, because a lot of kids aren't getting vaccinated, and B, there's a potential that it could spread throughout the state?
I mean, that is the worry. We've seen these cases growing across our in our neighboring states, and then across the United States as well, where you have 1,200 confirmed measles cases in the United States for a disease that was considered eradicated many years ago with the so yeah, a lot of risk, a lot of worries right now, but also kind of the idea that I heard from the medical leaders, the health leaders in Milwaukee, was that they have a tool. They're really trying to encourage people to consider that tool, and that is vaccination. Those who haven't considered the vaccine or have been reluctant to get that in recent years. So that's one of the things they're going to really be pushing and encouraging people to consider looking at it for their own families.
And so for folks who have been watching this, you can get a free vaccine rather, from what, the county health department, I would assume? Or?
This is going to be from the city health department. The Milwaukee City Health Department has ordered 800 extra doses of the MMR, which is measles, mumps, rubella vaccine. So those are going to be provided for free, regardless of your insurance coverage. So you can check in also with your insurance company, because they will have ideas for how to give you access at your local pediatrician or maybe your local pharmacy. We're actually right now, in the next 20 minutes, going to be talking to a pharmacist who his pharmacy, Hyatt Pharmacy, is providing vaccinations as well for parents that want to come in, or people that live here that want to get the shot. They can go in and get that. So we're going to be talking to them and get some ideas from them. They'll be able to show us the actual vaccination, and again, this is something that's transmitted. What we heard from the Milwaukee Health Commissioner was this is a pretty contagious. We're dealing with close contact with infected people. Would be one of the how it's transmitted, touching contaminated surfaces. The health department in Milwaukee says that even the virus itself can stay in an area for 2 hours after the person has left that particular room. So that's why they're worried. That's what, again, I wouldn't say they were panicking, but so far Wisconsin hasn't seen these cases we've seen in the neighboring states up until Friday. So right now they're really trying to encourage people to consider and look at their own vaccine record, which you can do on the Wisconsin website, to check in and see if you're fully updated with that shot. That was likely given to you as a child, but you never know for sure.
Especially as we get closer to going back to school, and in a couple of weeks, kids are going to be around each other, have traveled from all different various backgrounds, places for summer vacation. So I can imagine this is a growing concern. Last question for you, brother, because I know you got to prepare for your next interview. Were you able to glean any information in advance of the county health department news conference you're expected to attend? Do you expect the county to provide any doses of the vaccine as well, or not sure yet?
I think the next thing, Donovan, that I'm going to hear from is at 2:30. We're going to be hearing from the state. So the State Department of Health Services is going to be kind of dealing, and they're the one that really officially announced this, announced the cases in Oconto County. So we're expecting to hear from the chief medical officer and of Wisconsin, just kind of really getting an idea of what the worries are, what the vaccine rates are, things like that. We're looking to ask them at 2 o'clock or 2:30. And another question to ask is, now that the cases are here, now you're sounding the alarm. We've already had neighboring cases. There was, in Chicago, there was a case. There were several cases there at a migrant center in Chicago that the CDC investigated. That was back in the springtime, right? So, the question I'll be asking is, well, why didn't we have this news conference with the state back then? Maybe they did. Maybe they'll say they were trying to do the outreach at that time when there were no cases in the state. Now these cases in Oconto County are really, again, shining a light on this issue statewide here in Wisconsin. So we'll hear from the state coming up at about 2:30.
Looking forward to that. Jason Calvi reporting for us today on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Jason, thank you so much. B, always good work, brother. Great to have you.
Thanks, Donovan. Appreciate it.
Anytime. All right, folks, we will continue following that and staying on top of that. As the day progresses, you'll find Jason's reports starting at 4 o'clock here in the subsequent broadcasts here on the Fox 6 and, of course, right here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. But that is a big thing, especially as kids come back to school. Vaccination rates are, according to health workers, not where they want them to be. And we know that the City of Milwaukee Health Department is providing 800 free doses of the MMR vaccine. So if you are somebody watching this or know a family member or a kid who needs this vaccine, it would be wise, according to health workers, to get this vaccine in order to guard against the spread of the measles. Of course, there have not been any confirmed cases of the measles in Milwaukee County or the city of Milwaukee. This is a preventative measure, but there have been 9 cases of the virus confirmed in the state of Wisconsin. So it seems as though health leaders aren't necessarily in panic mode right now, but they're trying to be proactive and provide all these preventative measures in the event that this virus does get to our neck of the woods here in southeast Wisconsin. We're going to take a quick short break for a moment and be right back with more news and weather and other headlines here at the Wisconsin Live Desk. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be right back. And good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Donovan Long here. Time now is 12:48. We go from local news to a little bit of national news. We know the former governor of New York is speaking right now, hosting a news conference. This is Andrew Cuomo. He's been addressing in the past few moments before we came back from break here, the state of New York and its police department. Let's listen in about his potential plans or his vision for the future in this city.
This top down. This has got to be bottom up, where you sit down with the mayor at the table, with that local community, precinct by precinct, about 77 precincts. So you have 77 meetings. And you say, let's talk. Let's talk. Let me understand how you feel. And I'm sure they're going to bring up these issues about the police department, et cetera, and overly aggressive policing, et cetera. Fine. Have that conversation. Get past the negativity, and how do we now move forward? Because it does not work for anyone if the police and the community are adversarial. It's a non-starter. By the way, not just in New York City. I've seen this all across the country. I used to go through it with housing police and public housing authorities. If there's not a sense of mutuality between the police and the community, it just does not work. And I understand why there's concerns and cynicism, skepticism, but I also understand we have to get past it. By the way, it's one of the reasons people don't want to take the job, right? I don't want to take the job. I don't want to become an NYPD officer, put myself in danger. The politicians don't support me, and the local community doesn't like me. Why would I take that job?
Any response to how similar this is to Bill de Blasio's neighborhood police?
I don't see it as similar to Mayor de Blasio's. There's been every police commissioner has talked about local engagement. I just think it's more important than ever before because we are at a point today where you have more hostility and estrangement than we have in the past. And I think your point about when Police Plaza issues, police commissioners suing the mayor, this turnover of police commissioners, I think it adds to the sense of the lack of trust.
Sorry, who did you call? Chris. Oh, thank you. With the SRG, Mr. Paul, you mentioned you wanted to add officers to it. Do you envision the SRG staying with the same purpose? There's been a lot of controversy about SRG's involvement in protest response, for instance. Do you think it's appropriate to continue having SRG do that, or do you want to reform the purpose?
Look, I think no, I would keep the SOG responding to mass protests. You had one just yesterday, right? You have very heated dialogues that are going on right now. And I understand that. And everyone has a right, First Amendment right to protest. Yeah. And we encourage that. But you have seen a lot of destruction during these protests. They're very large. You don't have a right to destroy public property or private property. You don't have a right to harass another individual. So this is a delicate balance. And I think you're going to see more, not less. You know, hopefully the world finds peace sooner than we expect. But dealing with these demonstrations, protecting the rights of the demonstrators, and enforcing the law is a delicate balance. And having a group that is trained in that, I think, is very important.
And I guess that's where I'm wondering if you want to see any reforms taken. Groups like the New York Civil Liberties Union have said that the SRG is violating protesters' First Amendment rights at these mass demonstrations by pursuing too aggressive tactics.
Yeah, look, Chris, we've gone through this. There's no new here, right? Post George Floyd, we went this whole discussion of overly aggressive police, abusive police, police violating the law and killing, right? We had at that time the Attorney General reviewed and did a report. And we were more aggressive in decertifying police. You can be decertified as a police officer, which by the state. When you're decertified, you're not only fired from that department, you can't be a police officer anywhere in the state. So, yes, if we know the line and we know when someone steps over the line, there are discipline actions, including dismissal, sanctions, etc. So you have to strictly enforce the line.
Excuse me. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Donovan Long here, just kind of tapping in here in the middle of this news conference with the former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. Speaking of the relationship between community and police. If you're just now joining us, he's talking about the restoration of relationships between the two. Obviously, people want to feel safe, and people want to feel as if they know the people who have been sworn and take an oath to protect them. So he's talking about the importance of that relationship and kind of epitomizing this need to essentially work together and collaboratively to move forward despite having protests. And he says he respects the right to a protest, but says there's a right way to do that. And so he's, again, if you're just now joining us, you're listening to the former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, kind of iron out his vision of a relationship between police and the community. We'll take a listen in here again.
Right. This all comes down, it's very simple at the end of the day. You're talking about managing a city. You're talking about public safety, affordable housing, subway systems. These are operational questions. Who has ideas to reform the city and the operations and the systems in a way that's going to help me? And don't just give me promises and slogans. Explain to me what you would specifically do, and then explain why I should believe you can do it, right? There's a big gap there. I have a great idea. Is it really a great idea? Let's figure out if it's really a great idea. Let's have that conversation. Second step, I can do it. Oh, really? How are you going to do it? And how are you going to pay for it? And what are you going to say when you get to Albany? And what are you going to say when you get to the Congress? And what do you say when you get sued? And what do you say when you get to the city council? And can you hire a staff that can do it? And have you ever done anything like this before in your life? Or is this all fantastical? So, yes, listen to the campaigns, listen to the facts, have the dialogue, then decide. And you have 3 months. How are you, Melissa? No. I just have to make notes. I don't want to leave anything out. It's about $250 million. I think you will find within the $115 billion budget a lot of funds that can be better spent. You know, I come with a different perspective. I took over the state government. We had the largest deficit in the history of the state of New York, something like $10 billion. And we had to go through that budget line by line by line. How do you do things better? How do you do things more efficiently? What they normally do in a budget process is they just add on top, right? It's like painting a room and you just put another coat of paint on top of the old coat of paint. After a while, you have 10 coats of paint, and it doesn't look right. To do it correctly, you can't assume that every dollar you have been spending is a dollar that you must spend next year, right? So the budget process is not just what can we add, how do we do it better? 250 million.
Sorry, looking at the budget from where you are now, is there any area that you feel could save?
Melissa, I don't think there's an area that you couldn't find savings. I mean, look at the Department of Education and their consulting contracts. Just explain to me how you get that number of consultants, that number of contracts, and have the conversation and let them justify every contract. And by the way, what you often find is nobody tries to justify it. They all say the same thing. Well, that's there because it's always been there. That's the answer. And I did 11 budgets on time, bigger budgets, Brought in the commissioners, what's this, what's this, what's this? I don't know, it's always been there. I'm talking about just police officers. On your hypothesis, why wouldn't a police officer retire and get rehired? They could only retire if they were eligible for the pension, right? So they would have had to do their 20, be eligible for the pension, and then they could retire and come back and get rehired for a short period of time. But if they retired, they would have gotten their pension and they would have worked somewhere else, right? We would actually want them to come back and work in the police force. How are you, sir?
One on affordability and one on policing. On affordability, and I know you're not going into that portion of your vision today in detail. Mr. Mamdani was with Senator Warren today talking about universal child care. I'm wondering what, if any, concrete steps you take if elected to move the city toward universal child care. And on policing, Mr. Mamdani makes the case he could eliminate overtime and not hire more police officers by, in effect, having civilians do much of the mental health work, homeless services work, and that many officers don't in fact want the overtime. They want the quality of life as opposed to working 60, 70 hours a week. What is your response to his position on policing along those lines?
Yeah, they want the quality of life because you have police officers working 2 shifts, 3 shifts, working overtime, and you're burning them out. Hire more police officers. That's the answer to that. So you don't get burned out. And by the way, I don't want you burned out. Because when you get burned out, that's when you make a mistake. When you get burned out, that's when you overreact in a demonstration situation. So hire more police officers. Well, we'll have civilians do police work. No, police should do police work. We'll send civilians to a domestic violence situation. Domestic violence situation is not always, let's sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk things through.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Donovan Long here. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. You've been listening to former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo, pretty much talk about his vision for both the community and the police and how he would like to see both of those facets of our communities work together. And so this is his briefing he's been a part of for the past couple of minutes here, the past 30 minutes or so here, and he's really been reflecting on the kind of future he wants to see with law enforcement and members of the community, it's particularly his that he served. He's talking about NYPD. We are going to take a quick short break here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be right back after this quick short break. Good afternoon, everyone. Donovan Long here with the Wisconsin Live Desk, broadcasting from our FOX6 studios here in Southeast Wisconsin. Thank you so much for joining us. Hey, if you were new to this, kind of joining us here at the top of the hour, this is our real-time way of disseminating information to you with regard to what's happening in our community, around the nation, globally. Kind of a fun, interactive, yet real-time way of letting you know what's happening on as we speak. So we cover everything from politics to the state fair, which, by the way, is still going on. I had a chance to go over the weekend. It was thousands of people. We tried all kinds of different foods, all kinds of different exhibits that are on display. Obviously, what comes along with the state fair are a lot of different performances. Some big names we attract. I know Boys to Men performed earlier, or I guess in the latter part of last week. Then there was Neo as well this past Saturday. Coming up next, I guess I could say here, we've got a big name for you here. Big names, I should say, tonight on the Bank 5-9 main stage at the State Fair. We the Kingdom with Josiah Queen. They are, as you could probably tell, a Christian group, a worship group. I am familiar with these guys as well. One thing I love about the State Fair is that it has and attracts so many different people, but also different musical artists. Again, we're having a worship night, if you will, tonight on the main stage. Saturday, I believe, was Neo. Times before that, Darius Rucker was a part of it. Country music, of course. John Party, it will be at the State Fair performing in the coming days. I believe that's on Wednesday, August 6th. So this is a really fun, interactive way for you to get outside, meet a bunch of people, see some neighbors you already know, and get acquainted with the State Fair. It's a tradition here in our neck of the woods. How could you not want to get out there? We know that Rob Haswell, our chief meteorologist, and a couple of other weather experts have been talking about the air quality outside. It has not really improved yet, but it will, folks. That is the good news, kind of the light at the end of the tunnel here. We know the weather will get hot in the subsequent days, so you may want to get out there if you can safely. I know experts are recommending that if you need to, wear an N95 mask in order to protect yourself. But if you hit the if you hit up the State Fair tonight, you will see at the Bank 5-9 main stage, We the Kingdom with Josiah Queen. You're probably wondering, how do I get there? What do I park? What do I do? All those questions right here. Look, we've got you covered right here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Let's get into the parking. $15 is what it'll cost you. Bicycles, park for free. There are opportunities in areas that are designated for ride shares. So we're talking anything from like Ubers and Lyfts and taxis. You may want to dial into your favorite restaurants or bars to see if they're running shuttles, because that is an advantage that you will have as far as being clients, or rather paying customers for some of these restaurants and bars. They will shuttle you to West Allis for the Wisconsin State Fair, so you can kind of bypass all the traffic and trying to find places to park. That's kind of a headache. It can be anyway. But these are the main bullet points you need to know if you plan to take your kiddos or your family out to West Allis for the Wisconsin State Fair. It is a good time, folks. Let me tell you what, it was my first one on Saturday. I enjoyed myself, tried a bunch of food, bunch of drinks, listened to a bunch of bands, everything else in between. But if you're new to the Wisconsin Live Desk, wondering who's performing tonight, here's your answer. Here in Southeast Wisconsin, We the Kingdom with Josiah Queen coming to you tonight, August 4th at the Bank 5-9 main stage. And again, you have a couple of days left to get to the Wisconsin State Fair, I should say, or the fairgrounds, fairgrounds, however you want to identify it. Yeah, it is a good time. It is a really good time. These are some of the members you will see tonight if you decide to go. You only have a couple of more days. We've been identifying this as the best 11 days of summer. And if you've been to the State Fair before, you know why we sort of identify it as such, folks. Alrighty, a little bit closer to home now. In the meantime, we're also following a pretty big investigation out of Oak Creek. I'm going to try to get you back down to where I am here. If you bear with me for a second. I think I'm having some technical difficulties in trying to get you back here to see me on camera. There we go. Here I am. Alrighty. technology can be a blessing and a curse, if you will. So one of the big stories we're following here before we take a quick short break is with our reporter, Christina Venzel. She's following an investigation in Oak Creek where police are looking into how 3 intruders broke into a home. Didn't steal anything, but definitely shook a family up. They barged in unannounced to this home, caught on the home surveillance video inside. This all happening while 2 children locked themselves in a closet, were able to call their dad, who helped them call 911. This is a parent's worst nightmare. I mean, can you imagine your kid telling you somebody is in their home that is not anybody you're familiar with, and they are scared, shaken up, it's inexplainable. So our Christina Venzel is going to break down what we know so far about this investigation, who these intruders are, and how you can help police potentially track them down. This and more when we return here on our Wisconsin Live Desk. Thanks for joining us. We'll be right back. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk. Donovan Long here. Your time is 1:13. We're following a major investigation this afternoon for you. Christina Venzel is actually covering this story about a homicide investigation that happened on 55th and Custer. I want to bring her in now as she continues working the story for us. Christina, good afternoon to you. I understand this was potentially caught on a Ring doorbell camera. I'm sure this is a way to help police further investigate. What do we know at this hour about this?
Hey, Donovan. So actually video in general played a huge role in this entire investigation, and want to just take you back and catch you up to speed from when this started. So this all stemmed from a shooting back on July 20th. Again, that's at 55th and Custer. We know a 26-year-old man was shot several times and died from his injuries. The man charged in this case is a 35-year-old named Dion Howell. He went through intake yesterday. His bond was set at $300,000, but once we got the criminal complaint, it really laid out more of the details of this case and what happened. So to take you back, as you mentioned, in that criminal complaint, it does say that this entire incident was caught on a Ring camera. So that is one piece of evidence that helped police find their suspect in this case. And then after the fact of that shooting, there was also video of the suspect driving on flock cameras, and then also surveillance at a nearby sell and tobacco store. And according to investigators, that video surveillance was such high quality that they were actually able to match the photo of this man to photos in their system, because according to investigators, Howell was actually out on probation for a felony charge and already had his photo in their system there. So video played a huge role in this case. Donovan, we did ask the people who have this video if they were able to share it with us or had wanted to make any comment, and unfortunately they do not have the video anymore, with this being from 2 weeks ago, and didn't want to speak with us on camera. But again, just a reminder of how critical some of these Ring cameras can play in a police investigation.
Christina, you mentioned that we are seeing, just in terms of following so many homicide investigations or break-ins, like the one in Oak Creek that happened over the weekend, people are having these cameras inside their homes, outside of their homes, and they seem to be a real game changer for police who are able to use that same footage in terms of tracking down a suspect or getting more insight into what actually happened in front of a home or inside of it. Have you talked to police about how much of a game changer these have become for folks and for their police departments?
Yeah, so I did reach out to police because I was curious too if Milwaukee police had some sort of partnership with Ring cameras and how that works. They did get back to me. They do not have a partnership necessarily with Ring, but there is a way, if you live in Milwaukee, you can actually register your camera to be part of police investigations, or it kind of connects people from their camera to police if they do have a question. I'm trying to pull up the link for you. It's communityconnectmilwaukee.org. So that's the Milwaukee Police Foundation. And again, you can register your camera. There are certain levels you can do it. I know there's some people who do not agree with this. They like their privacy and don't want their cameras being accessed, right, 24/7 to investigators. But if this is something you want to do, you can register your camera, and then if you want to take it a step further, you can actually give police direct access to your feed. But again, that's something that you have to choose to do through this link. So it definitely is something that, in this case particularly, did help kind of, at least for closure reasons too, help investigators literally see that shooting occur and what went down there on 55th and Custer just a couple weeks ago.
Do you have any insight as to how many people have actually, or Milwaukee residents have actually signed up their cameras to connect them with Milwaukee Police Departments? Do we have that data? And I know you're working the story too, so I don't want to speak too far in advance.
No, that's okay. I'm looking at the website as you asked me that question because I don't have the answer right now, and I don't see it necessarily on this site, but it is a good question. And we've covered so many stories too with not even necessarily a crime happening on camera, but the aftermath, or people leaving a scene and helping investigators. So I know when I've been out covering certain situations, you see detectives knocking on people's doors with those cameras. So it just depends. I think there is some mixed opinions on police access to some of these things, but with this website, it does give you the option if you want to give investigators that immediate access to your live feed, you can do so.
And you see, you mentioned something that I'd be remiss if I didn't bring it up. It reminds me of the whole debate over police using drones to fight crime in our community. You hear the same argument. It's an invasion of privacy, yet on the police side, it helps them further assess damage, helps them with investigations, and it's a tool that can be really useful. But you can also hear the flip side of it, how it can be kind of an invasion of privacy depending on where you fall on either side of that line. Question for you. The folks who had access to the camera didn't want to go on camera, but did you glean any information from them as to, what they make of this homicide?
To be completely honest, they did not really want to speak to us at all. We did ring the doorbell and they were friendly, but didn't want to have anything to do with the investigation. So I couldn't really get a sense from them, but again, it was a big part of that criminal complaint where it lists out kind of the details of what that camera caught. And I get it. I mean, a lot of the neighbors that we knocked on doors in that same area did not want to go on camera, just kind of out of uncomfortability, and some said fear of retaliation or what it may have you. But we did actually talk to one woman. Again, she didn't want her face shown or anything, but she heard 3 gunshots that day and actually ran to try to help the 26-year-old who was killed in this case. And she talks about how she's happy this was not happy, that's not the right word, but relieved that there is some evidence on camera to bring loved ones that closure.
100%, 100%. Christina, what are you looking forward to in terms of finding out as it relates to this investigation? What questions do you have as you dig through the story?
I think the complaint is really interesting, just with how much video really did play a role in this. And again, we were hoping to talk to some more people in that neighborhood, just their take on how do you feel about police accessing Ring cameras and helping it with their investigations? What's the community's take on it? So we did have that one woman who you'll hear from later today, but just kind of getting the overall community's response. And I think the biggest thing that we heard was at least relief that the person charged in this case is arrested and now will be going through the court process.
Have police responded to you with regard to their inclination to kind of want to get people to sign up to kind of help them with investigations in this capacity?
I will follow up because their response was very to the point.
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted to get a feel for what the policy was first before
Sure.
asking any follow-up questions. But I do think it's a good follow-up question that I will ask them. And maybe they have that data that you mentioned too of how many cameras are actually registered through that program.
Wonderful.
So I'll keep you posted.
All righty, Christina Venzel's reporting for us today for the Wisconsin Live Desk. My friend, always good to see you, and we look forward to your reports later on this evening on Fox 6. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Anytime, anytime. All righty, folks, that was Christina Venzel's reporting for us. We'll hear again, as I mentioned, a little bit later from her as it relates to this investigation, this homicide investigation that happened about 2 weeks ago concerning a 26-year-old who died after succumbing to his gunshot wounds. A very interesting piece she mentioned about, neighbors. You were able to essentially connect your Ring doorbells and security cameras to this way that will give police access to them so that they can better investigate and use them as a tool to help them with their follow-ups and as they work their leads on their investigations. But again, you'll see this full report later on tonight on our broadcast here at Fox 6. You can also find it on our Fox 6 mobile app and at fox6now.com. Alrighty, folks, we'll take a quick, short break. We'll be right back with more weather and news and highlights as it relates to what's happening around the country. Thanks for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Wisconsin Live Desk, and happy Monday to you. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are new to the digital broadcast, welcome. We'd love to have you back in the days to come. All right, folks, we are also following this story happening right now. We know the Justice Department is meeting and discussing their efforts to reduce drug prices. This is something that's of huge concern and of huge importance on the federal level. Let's listen in to figure out the DOJ's plan and vision for the future.
Now let's hear from Representative Harshbarger's senior policy advisor, Mr. Stein. Now, Mr. Stein, Representative Harshbarger has the unique distinction of being one of the only representatives in Congress to have previously worked as a pharmacist. Since coming to Congress in 2021, she has already taken the lead on several bills to improve prescription drug affordability and accessibility. So, Mr. Stein, I'll leave you with the same question. What are some of the important issues of drug affordability and accessibility from your perspective, and what do you view as some potential solutions?
Oh, thank you for the invitation, and thank you for the questions, and thank Representative Harshbarger. Certainly applauds President Trump's dedication and leadership to this issue. It's one which we hear so much about from so many of our constituents across the country. As was mentioned, Representative Harshbarger is one of two pharmacists in Congress. For 35 years, she served as a pharmacist. And so these issues of enhancing affordability and accessibility of prescription drugs is very near and dear to her. Representative Harshbarger also serves on the Republican Doctors Caucus. She's co-chair of the Congressional Bipartisan Rural Health Caucus, and she was recently named vice chair to the Energy and Commerce Health Subcommittee. I think Representative Harshbarger sees these issues that I won't go into all the derivations of these. They're multifaceted, but she sees a lot of these issues that of different components that add to this equation. Some have to do with patent reform, she believes. Others have to do with increased price transparency, as was alluded to earlier. And others she's very dedicated to, and one of her top legislative priorities is pharmacy benefit manager PBM reform. And Representative Harshbarger has been so inspired by and fortunate to stand on the shoulders of so many great thought leaders, lawmakers here in Congress, notably Senators Cornyn, Senators Grassley, Senator Lee. And I think some of her ideas she brings to the table that I'll mention briefly build on a lot of what they have been working on in the past. With regard to patent reform of pharmaceuticals, Representative Harshbarger has been working on bipartisan legislation with Senator Hassan from New Hampshire that was recently introduced late last week. The issue being brand name manufacturers can at times be able to game the drug approval and patent system by telling one story to the FDA about their new drug and telling another story to the Patent and Trademark Office, the PTO. Although FDA and PTO receive the basic information about a drug, chemistry, manufacturing, et cetera, manufacturers can exploit the lack of coordination between FDA and PTO and hold back information from the Patent and Trademark Office so they can seek secondary patents years later. This can lead to patent thickets that unfairly extend the product's market exclusivity, blocking biosimilar and other generic drugs from market entry years after an initial patent has expired. Representative Harshbarger is working on the Bipartisan Medication Affordability and Patent Integrity Act that would put in place some simple reforms, require manufacturers to certify that when they submit initial info to the FDA and the PTO, they are not knowingly submitting conflicting or incomplete information. Failure to comply with the attestation or information disclosure requirement under the legislation could render a patent unenforceable if the patentee is found to have acted improperly in later litigation. The Nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office has estimated this will unlock more generic competition, saving taxpayers some $100 million over a decade, and likely with more out-of-pocket savings for patients as well. With respect to greater transparency, Representative Harshbarger was proud to work with the Energy and Commerce Committee in a bipartisan fashion on a number of elements of the Lower Cost, More Transparency Act, which passed the House of Representatives last session of Congress with strong bipartisan support. One of the areas Representative Harshbarger has been concerned about is the growing vertical integration of healthcare entities in Medicare and other places. Representative Harshbarger has been championing and will be reintroducing somewhat soon, promoting transparency and healthy competition in Medicare Act. The bill would require greater public data reporting and transparency into how vertically integrated companies, such as insurers that own providers, PBMs, and pharmacies, interact with one another, compared to when vertically integrated companies interact with independent physicians, pharmacies, and other entities not owned by the insurance or the insurance company or PBM. This, in Representative Harshbarger's view, will allow policymakers to better understand the impacts of these arrangements may have on the delivery of health care. I want to mention in the realm of pharmacy benefit manager reform, PBMs, which is, again, one of Representative Harshbarger's top legislative priorities. She's proud to join forces with a number of bipartisan members, her fellow pharmacist, Representative Buddy Carter, to have recently co-led introduction of the PBM Reform Act. This includes all of the PBM reforms that were included in the original continuing resolution package toward the end of last year in December of 2024 that were negotiated on a bipartisan bicameral basis. And a number of these key provisions would ban spread pricing in Medicaid and ensure pharmacies are fairly and adequately reimbursed for serving Medicaid beneficiaries. It would also establish new requirements for the PBMs under Medicare Part D, including a policy to delink PBM compensation from the cost of medications and increase transparency. There's another section to promote price transparency for prescription drugs purchased by employer health plans by ensuring PBMs provide group health plans and insurers with detailed data on prescription drug spending at least semi-annually, and a requirement for the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to define and enforce reasonable and relevant Medicare Part D contract terms from PBM insurer to pharmacy, including reimbursement. Very briefly, I'll wrap up with one of the other major issues or major bills that Representative Harshbarger has been working on, looking to reintroduce soon with her bipartisan partners, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Hawley in the Senate, and Representative Auchincloss. And due to the conflicts of interest that have accrued in the PBM and insurance industry, where PBMs are no longer just PBMs, they own providers, they own their own pharmacies, they have tremendous ability to steer business toward their own entities. Representative Harshbarger has championed last session the Patients Before Monopolies Act, which will address these conflicts of interest, prohibit a parent company of a PBM or an insurer from owning a pharmacy business, and requires that a parent company in violation of the PBM Act to divest its pharmacy business within 1 year of the bill's enactment. There are a number of other provisions that would seek to prevent these vertically integrated healthcare entities from seeking to game the system or get around the letter or spirit of the legislation. Very quickly, there is clear precedent for government prohibitions on joint ownership to protect consumers and enhance competition, including in the railroad and banking industries. Following introduction of this bill in the 118th Congress, the state of Arkansas enacted a state law to structurally separate PBMs from pharmacies, and 39 state and territory attorneys generals recently urged Congress to take federal action to break apart PBMs from pharmacies, as the PBM Act would. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Ben Amelin here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Hey, everybody. It is Monday, 1:33 in the afternoon. I'm just getting logged in here as we're doing a little switch over. Donovan had a great first hour here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Again, this is the show where you get to see how the sausage is made. We've got live feeds coming into this room here, and we can bring you all around the world. I do want to bring you locally. Photojournalist Gabby Nasby out at a scene here in Milwaukee. This is 21st and Mount Vernon, and you can see there's the river there. out by the skate park. I believe that's the Kinnickinnick River, and you can see all the law enforcement that is out there. Well, we've just got an update from the Milwaukee Police Department about what we are looking at here, and you can see all of the law enforcement out there. According to Milwaukee Police, they're investigating a death that occurred on August 4th today, approximately 11:39 in the morning. So it was just before noon out there. This is the 2100 block of West Mount Vernon Avenue. A body identified was located in the river. They have not been able to identify who the person was. The cause of death is under investigation. They do not believe it's suspicious at this time, as you're looking live here. I'm not sure if I've got audio on these channels here. Okay, it doesn't look like we're getting audio fed. Okay, there we go. So audio is now being fed in. So I'm just going to hold this for a second here and get my bearings a little bit, but you're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk. Again, you can see Marquette University Police. They're out at the scene as this is close to their campus, right along the river, Mount Vernon Avenue, a body pulled from the river. So hang on to this shot for a bit. Okay, I got my rivers wrong. That's the Menominee River down there that you are seeing. Obviously, we're in the Menominee Valley. And it does make sense that the Marquette University Police Department's out at here, because on the other side of the Menominee River from where we are, I mean, you can see the light poles up there. That is for Valley Fields, and that is where the Hank Aaron State Trail is actually on the other side of this river as well. That is where Marquette has a number of athletic fields out there, including their track and field facility. I believe lacrosse, they practice out there. A lot of the intramurals play out at Valley Fields, but that's Marquette property. And this is, I don't know if you've ever been to Third Space Brewing. That's right in this area, Mount Vernon Avenue. It runs, it's kind of a industrial part of a road, as all these former industries, and some of them are still there, like BBC Lighting. They've been down there forever. They're on this road there. But this would be the access road, Mount Vernon Avenue, that kind of runs on the other side of the train tracks. The 16th Street Viaduct is nearby. There you can see Potawatomi Casino and Hotel on the other side. So that's where this investigation is ongoing. The good news that we're getting from the police department right now, this does not appear to be a suspicious death, but they don't know who exactly is in the water. Again, they've been out there for a couple of hours now. As of right before noon, somebody in the area spotted a body in the Menominee River. That person was pulled and was deceased. So unclear when the person died. The death investigation is just underway, but look at all the teamwork they've got out there from the different law enforcement agencies. As you can see, there's a number of Marquette University police officers. We're seeing Milwaukee police. They are on scene, as they have, you see the crime scene tapes. As part of the death investigation, they're going to take pictures of the entire area around where this body was found, just to see if there's any evidence laying there as part of the investigation, to try and figure out what happened here. You can see them, detectives, working the phones. Now, the information is coming from the Milwaukee Police Department on what's going on out there, but it is interesting because I'm not sure if Marquette is now taking the lead on this investigation, because I'm seeing more Marquette police officers than I am MPD officers. As everybody inside the tape, it appears to be a Marquette University police officer. So again, we'll just hang on this shot a little bit. You're watching a little bit of breaking news here as a death investigation is underway. 21st and Mount Vernon. And we're along with Gabby Nasby. one of our great photojournalists here at Fox 6. Look at that vantage point. Great view there from Gabby, as you can see. So right along the river, I mean, we got Third Space Brewing. You know the train tracks are right there, and I think you can see some train cars right there parked along here. Yeah, okay, so this is a really, okay, that's actually tractor trailers there. Really industrial area, and that's what Mount Vernon kind of runs as an access road back behind there. But it's not like nobody goes back here. I mean, we got the Hank Aaron State Trail on the other side of the river. We got all these fields, Valley Fields from Marquette University, which is why I think the Marquette Police Department is here. And Marquette, of course, their campus right up the bluff. But we're in the Menominee Valley here along the Menominee River. And there's different piers. I know Third Space Brewing has a pier. So there are boats and kayaks that go up and down the Menominee River, but obviously this death investigation is underway. Big thanks to Gabby Nasby for bringing it to us live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. So if there's anything that breaks from that, we'll get back to her. But good stuff from Gabby that just get us up to date on what's going on out there as we continue to watch this here on the Wisconsin Live Desk on what would be a beautiful day to go up and down the river, but this is not something you want to see. Pretty interesting to see all these guys kind of working the phones and working the investigation as they work through what happened here with a body, again, pulled from the Menominee River right before noon. We don't even know who found the body. We continue to try and work that scene for us there, so we'll keep watching that. I want to bring you out some of the national news that we're watching here on the Wisconsin Live Desk today. Governor Youngkin out in Virginia making news with the lottery out there. That's just popped up. Let's listen in as they're all clapping and celebrating.
So now, we're going to go over here by this check.
Okay, so this announcement just happened, and I think that they are, let's see, it's coming in as they're celebrating the Virginia Lottery turnover announcement supporting K-12 public education. So this is where they write the big fat check for schools in Virginia based off of all the lottery winnings or losings, really. You know, this makes you feel good. When you play the lottery and you lose, which is most of the time, at least when I do, at least sometimes the money goes to a good cause, like the $901 million that the Virginia Lottery has raised that's going to go and help support K-12 public schools in that state. Wisconsin, same thing. Our money actually does not go towards schools. It goes towards our property tax relief. But just know that when you lose, somebody else is cashing in on that money. So there's the governor. Pretty happy about that big size check. That is a lot of money in Virginia. Makes me wonder if they have this kind of, they call it the turnover every year, if they have that kind of event. I like the lottery logo they have there, as it was two fingers crossed. Did you see that? Let's see if they get another picture up there. Right now they're shooting at a wall. Yeah, this is what the photographer is choosing to show us right now. Hey, turn the camera that way, will ya? As this event continues, I think he's just trying to get a different view and is kind of working his camera out. I kind of like this when we're on. This is kind of what the joy of the Wisconsin Live Desk. Like, this photographer has no idea that we're taking this live in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. But that's the joy of this. So he's kind of like working and doing his own thing. And again, we get a behind the scenes look at his job as, like, that woman has no idea. I think she's security, that she's on camera. She's in Virginia. She may never know that she was live here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as we're showing this event, as the photographer is changing the scene there. I think he's working on something. So why don't we come back here? All right. So obviously an eventful first few minutes here as I switch over, as I start my work week here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. We've got a couple of national feeds that have popped up. I see a car crash that's frozen that I think is from earlier in the day, so I'm going to get some more information on that. Got some new things in my inbox, too, I want to talk about, and also the state fair. So we got a lot ahead of us. We still got some time to figure out what's happening, but you just never know in the next few minutes what you'll find here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. So stay with us, and we'll be right back in a couple minutes. We'll see what pops up.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
What up, news nerds? Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. It is 1:46. It is Monday, August 4th. We've kicked off a new month. That means my rent was due and taken out of my paycheck or my bank account today because, it kind of days went over the weekend. I think, I don't know if yours did either. That's just what I'm thinking about here on my Monday as I'm trying to get back in the swing of things here at work. We got several cool live feeds going up. Any idea where this could be? Just take a look. I'll give you a hint. It's on the East Coast. There was a really trashy reality TV show, I think that was shot in this town. Any guesses? This is the Jersey Shore. Wildwood, New Jersey. Right there along the Atlantic, looking at the boardwalk, the t-shirt shops, the people. We've got, for a lot of kids, depending where you live, you only got a few weeks left of summer. Some kids, like my brother lives in Nebraska, my brother's a teacher, he's back to school this week. The kids come back next week. So his summer is literally over. And I just saw him last week. So I hope he's having a good time. A lot of schools here in Wisconsin, they wait till after Labor Day. East Coast, that's also a similar kind of a thing. And most school districts start after Labor Day, so we're talking September. So these are the last 4 weeks of summer. And these are the people out there enjoying the boardwalk. Let's see what we got here. Oh, we got Hurley's, good t-shirt shop, surf shop there. I think these are like all t-shirt shops. I've never been to Wildwood, New Jersey. But you can see people in the bathing suits, walking the boardwalk, walking around. CJ's probably a bar and grill, I'm going to guess. Just a hunch. Okay, now I need to... Delaney, can you Google something for me? Can you Google what town was the Jersey Shore on MTV shot in? And tell me if it was Wildwood. We'll wait for that answer. Snooki.
It was filmed in Seaside Heights.
Oh, Seaside Heights. Okay, now I have to look at Seaside Heights and see if that's right next door. Seaside Heights, New Jersey. Okay, now I'm going to hit the Google map. Oh, yeah. Okay. And Wildwood is, okay, I have to like do my Google map. Okay, Delaney, I'm going to switch shots here, but maybe you can figure out how close Wildwood, New Jersey is to Seaside Heights. Maybe I'm thinking of the wrong part of New Jersey. But you know, anywhere in New Jersey is Wildwood maybe by Atlantic City and Seaside Heights is farther north. Okay, I got to figure this out. I did not spend my childhood going to the Jersey Shore. The governor in Virginia's on the microphone. Should we go back there? Let's listen to what he's talking about.
Winsome is working so hard. I've been really, really encouraged by the rollouts of some very important initiatives. Victory Virginia, which is the statewide field program, Secure Your Vote, which is early voting and early registration, and of course Protect Your Vote, which is done in partnership with the RNC. And I love the fact she's on a 10 or 12 city tour right now, so they're doing the work. It's been great. And I'm not surprised by the president's comments. You know, Lieutenant Governor and I went to see him and had a great conversation, and so I'm just pleased to know that he has the exact same understanding of how important this race is that I do, because we need to elect Winsome Earle-Sears as our next governor, and let me tell you why. Over the course of the last 3.5 years, we have watched Virginia transform. We were bottom third in the nation in job growth, and now we have had record job growth over the last 3.5 years. 265,000 more people working, 250,000 open but unfilled positions ready for people to take. And then the $125 billion of business investment that we've had underpins another 80,000 jobs. And it has been this economic movement and the financial strength of the Commonwealth that has allowed Virginia to have $9 billion of tax relief. And on top of that, record investments in education and in law enforcement and in health care, particularly behavioral health, and of course in taking care of God's gifts to the Commonwealth, something I care very deeply about. And so this last 3.5 years has demonstrated that common sense works. And that's why I think Winsome has to win, because I believe her opponent wants to change a lot of this. And that change, I think, will be bad for Virginia. I think Winsome will continue to accelerate Virginia, and that's why I think Virginians will elect her.
Governor, the Department of Defense says that troops are now going to be able to help ICE here in Virginia. Did you ask for this, and do you support this? What are your thoughts on it?
Well, so what they're talking about is the cooperation under the collaboration that we currently have for Virginia National Guard troops to be involved in administration of the overall Virginia Homeland Security Task Force. And I support this. I think there's a great opportunity for them to bring their capabilities to the administrative side of this. They won't be doing the ICE job, but they will be doing some of the administration and processing, and we're supportive of them doing that.
Is that a 287G type situation, or is it separate?
It actually is just done under the same authority that the National Guard was used during COVID, where the federal government reimburses us, but they're under my direction.
Okay. Have you made that? You've made that direction, or what's your involvement?
So we're committed to do this, and I expect that over the course of the month of August, we'll have some of our Virginia National Guard troops training for what they need to do. But again, it's logistics and administration and processing, and not the field stuff that, of course, ICE and law enforcement does. I do believe strongly that the role of the Virginia National Guard is not law enforcement in this case. It is actually to support the administrative side of things.
Time for one more. Governor, have you been in the grocery store recently, and what advice do you have for Republicans running for House of Delegates in this economic conditions that we're experiencing right now?
Why don't you, other than go to the grocery store, which I was in over the weekend, but...
How did that go? I mean, yeah, how are you feeling about the economy, and how are you advising Republicans to run on it right now?
Well, I'll tell you about the general economy is... Virginia's financial condition is incredibly good, and I do think that the national economy, which grew at 3% this past quarter, continues to be incredibly strong, and that has translated into job opportunities, has translated to increased wages, and I think that the overall economic condition of America and of Virginia continues to be incredibly good. What the president said he was going to do is first deliver fair trade again. And that's exactly what he's doing. And second of all, he was going to make sure that the financial opportunities would be broadly felt across the country, and they are. And what we're seeing in Virginia is huge investment from companies who are committing to build factories and research facilities and new headquarters, distribution facilities. That's translating into billions of dollars of investment and tens of thousands of jobs. And that's going to benefit Virginians for a long time. I think that is exactly what he promised. That's what he's doing, and therefore I do believe that the financial results for individuals in Virginia will be really strong. Finally, the tax relief that has been provided at the federal level and at the state level is substantial. I mean, we at the state level have had $9 billion of tax relief, ranging everywhere from nearly doubling the standard deduction to removing the state portion of the grocery tax. So when you do go to the grocery store, you will notice there is no state portion of the grocery tax at all. And on top of that, we have removed up to $40,000 of taxes on our veterans' retirement, which has enabled so many more of our veterans to stay here and build their lives here. And then we're getting ready to have another tax rebate, $400 for people filing jointly, $200 for people filing individually. That tax relief, I think, has been a major contributor to why Virginia's growing, why we reversed migration trends, and what's allowed us to have a growing workforce, which fuels this virtuous cycle. And then, of course, what the president did was provide...
This is Glenn Youngkin. He's a Republican governor from Virginia. I like when you go to different states how they kind of talk about their state a little bit differently. Like when he refers to the Commonwealth. You know, Virginia, one of the OGs when it comes to states. This was a lottery event, and then afterwards they kind of hold a gaggle, and now you hear him talking about everything from the prices in the grocery store to different political races there in Virginia. And so, obviously, people are asking about all sorts of stuff. Ooh. I was wondering if that was someone I knew there. Sometimes reporters pop up, and I'm like, I know that guy, but I actually don't know that guy. He just kind of looks like somebody I know. So anyway, that's what's going on in Virginia. Let's go south. New feed-in. This is coming in from the Johnson Space Center in Florida, where the second lady, Usha Vance, is holding a summer reading event with kids. This is kind of fun. Let's listen in.
It helped the astronauts get to the moon, and she knew it would help get them home safely. As always, she gazed at the night sky in wonder.
We're being read a book right now from the second lady. And I see some Boy Scout or Cub Scouts in there, Girl Scouts.
We're proud to be joined today, not just by the campers of Space Center Houston's Explorer Camps and children of our Johnson Space Center employees, but also children from across the nation and the world on NASA Plus. We know
and I apologize, I said Florida, we're in Houston, Texas.
We know you have a lot of questions for the second lady and our NASA astronaut, Sunny, so we'll jump right in and try to get to as many as possible. Caroline, a third grader from Tennessee, wants to know what each of your favorite planets are and why.
With our favorite order? Planets. Oh, okay. You want me to start with that one?
Yes.
So it's awesome to look at planets and go outside and look at the night sky, but it's actually even more awesome when you're in a spacecraft and you can look down at this planet. So I have to say Earth is my favorite planet because we can also wear our bathing suits and go to the beach. Other planets, that might be a little bit more problematic.
Well, that's a really good answer.
That's Sunny Williams. She's the astronaut who was stuck in the space station there with the second lady. Let's keep listening.
And in fact, in our house, we have a painting that my little boy made when he was 5 of Jupiter as seen through the asteroid belt, and that's the way that I like to think about it.
All right, and then I know Brooks R., who's in the crowd. I know you have a question for both Ms. Vance and Sunny. If you want to come meet Jarrell up at this microphone right here.
If you could bring one thing to the surface of the moon, what would you bring?
So if you could bring one thing to the surface of the moon, what would it be? Well, you know, we prepare a lot for the things that we're going to do on the moon, or wherever we go in space, but you never know if something might come up that you might not, know how to do or haven't practiced. So I would probably bring a tool. And a tool that I like is like a Leatherman that has multi-tools. It has all sorts of little things on it. And that way, if you run into any little problem, you have your tool, your trusty tool with you right there to help fix and solve that problem.
I think it's pretty unlikely I'd get to go to the moon since I'm not an astronaut like Sunny. But if I were lucky enough to do that, I think I might leave something to leave behind for a future kid to find there. And so one of the things I know is pretty cool right now is Pokemon cards. So I think I'd bring a Pokemon card and hide it there and see if any of you guys could find it.
I like that one. Great. Now we have a question from Ryan in Florida for Ms. Vance. Ryan asks, do you ever want to go to space?
Oh, I would love to go to space. I think it would be the greatest adventure you could have. So I'm pretty excited that I get to talk to someone who's actually done it.
Fantastic. And now here with us today, we have Aria, a kindergartner from right here in Houston. Aria, would you like to ask Ms. Vance your question?
What's your favorite book?
Oh, that's a great question. I have a lot of favorite books. One of my favorite kids' books that I like reading right now is one you might like about space. It's called May Among the Stars. And then I have favorite books that I read when I was a little bit older, like the Little House books were some of my favorite by Laura Ingalls Wilder. And then I've got favorite adult books too, but probably less exciting.
Now Sam, joining us from all the way in Washington, has asked, if each of you could take one book to space, what would it be and why?
Oh boy, that's a little tricky. Probably The Little Prince. I really love that book, and it has so many cool connotations for life, and so probably The Little Prince, if you guys have heard of that.
I think if I were going to be in space for a while and I only had one book, I might get a little bored. So I might bring an encyclopedia, something that just has hundreds of things for me to read about all sorts of different topics.
Ian, if you want to ask Sunny your question.
This is just what I needed on a Monday.
What was your favorite?
Although it's always terrifying when kids ask questions because you never know what they're going to ask and you don't know if you're going to have the answer. So the second lady and this astronaut, Sunny Williams, doing a great job answering these kids' questions. Hey, I got to take a quick break because we just hit the 2 o'clock hour. But I hope this is still up when we return because this has been kind of fun to watch. We're watching the Wisconsin Live Desk exclusively.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Welcome to the show where we take everything live. It's got to be live for me to hit the button and take it. You're not going to see any recorded video here or edited. You really get to see how the sausage is made in the news department as we watch all of these events happen before our eyes. Got a new live picture from downtown Milwaukee, where we're still watching the air quality around here. It was really interesting. I spent the weekend with the in-laws in Indiana outside of Chicago, and I had to drive back last night. And man, were we in the thick of it yesterday with our air quality and smoke. I will say, I believe it looks a little better out there today. Delaney, our producer, wouldn't you agree that it looks a whole lot better than it did yesterday?
It definitely looks better today than yesterday.
We do have an air quality alert that goes until now Tuesday at noon, as we've been watching kind of just the different shots out there. It looks, I mean, you could still tell it's smoky out there. No doubt about it, as we bounce around on some of the cameras on the interstate system there. But it's definitely not nearly as nasty as it was yesterday. Here's a different shot for you of downtown. Yeah, we're dealing with the air quality alert, so just everybody can feel this when it's really thick. You don't have to be susceptible. You don't have to have asthma to really feel the effects of it. But if you are one of those people that are a little bit more sensitive to poor air quality, just know that's why you're probably not feeling so great, because we have all this Canadian wildfire smoke that continues to flood in from around the area. So those fires have been burning all summer long. We've had a ton of days where if the wind comes just right, that smoke comes hundreds and hundreds of miles down here and just floods our area. We've had some of the worst air quality in the United States the last few days because of that Canadian wildfire smoke. It was just blowing perfectly in our direction. I will tell you, even when Northwest Indiana, it's bottom of Lake Michigan, really not that far away. But the difference from there to here yesterday, night and day. We really had it bad here in southeast Wisconsin with the air quality. So that is something we continue to watch here on your Monday. The state fair continues out there. On the main stage tonight, we got We the Kingdom. That is a Christian group with Josiah Queen playing tonight on the main stage. Besides the Canadian wildfire smoke, I know they are just giving out high fives to each other, all the people who work at the state fair in the administration, because this may be the best weather they have ever had to kick off the first week of the state fair, because usually, this time of year, we're cooking. It's usually really hot. We got storms oftentimes. Hey, if you're getting down to the fair, just a reminder, $15 to park. You can go through the gates. Make sure I didn't know this my first few years here, and I couldn't figure out how to get into the state fair because all of the traffic, just to remind you, goes in a clockwise direction around the grounds. And if you find yourself on the wrong side of the street going counterclockwise, it will be the most frustrating day you've ever had trying to get to an event. But if you know that you're supposed to be on the clockwise direction of the fairgrounds, suddenly it's really easy to get into the fairgrounds. So $15 to park the car. That'll get you right into the, the infield of the track at the Milwaukee Mile. That's where they put all the cars. Hey, if you want to go down on a bicycle, you can go for free. If you want to take the Hank Aaron State Trail, just a reminder, they shut that down through the fairgrounds. There's detours. You got to go way around. They say it's a security thing because otherwise you would end up literally on parts that are like up above the people of the masses at the fairgrounds, and for security reasons, that's not where they want people, obviously. So just know that if you were going for a bike ride next couple of weeks. Of course, you can ride share it down there. Dousman Transportation Shuttles. One of my favorites is the logistics that the bar and restaurant shuttles have figured out, that we have, I think some of our best public transportation comes from bars and restaurants that have shuttle. You go in, you buy one thing, whether it be a plate of nachos or a drink, and suddenly you get on their shuttle for free. So you can patronize the area bars and shuttles. There's lots of them, and they'll drop you right there at the state fairgrounds. Got an update on something we talked about a short time ago here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and I'd like to make a correction. Well, not a correction. I guess it was, I just don't want any angry emails coming in from Jersey Shore lovers when I said, because this is Wildwood, New Jersey on the Jersey Shore, and I said this is where one of the wildest reality TV shows was shot, which is actually not true, because that was at Seaside Heights. Delaney, who I am sure, Delaney, you're a huge Jersey Shore fan, right? I mean, Snooki was your favorite?
I do like Jersey Shore, yeah.
Yeah. So, man, what were the characters? Well, I forget. I mean, they were actual real people, but I'm gonna have to look up the cast of Jersey Shore just to get, because all I can remember, even though this was like in my heyday, was Snooki. Jersey Shore cast. Oh yeah, DJ Pauly D. How could I forget DJ Pauly D? Or Mike Sarantino. What was his name on the show? I don't know. I remember.
The Situation?
The Situation. Thank you. See, I knew Delaney was a big fan. Anyway, beautiful day out there in New Jersey as people are watching the boardwalk. Hour and a half from where the show was shot. So this is not the exact spot of where the Jersey Shore was shot, but this is still on the Jersey Shore. And I bet you can find similar characters up and down the coast of New Jersey, no matter where you go. The second lady is addressing kids out in Houston. This is kind of a fun event. She read a book, and now she's talking to them. And I want to listen live because this is making my day because it's like the cutest thing with these kids here. So we're listening live here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
You're going to have some people and teachers around us to help us and assist us during these activities. So if I will have my NASA experts out there help us bring that material out. For 3rd and 5th grade, you will have this container with the poly beads. You will have a balloon to create your static electricity. Our K2 students, we're going to bring out some gloves and our puzzles, and then we'll get started. So Miss Vance and Sunny will come around and see what you're doing and see if they have questions for you while you're working.
This is so cool. It's kids from around the country. Out there, it's Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. There you can see it in the back. Do you see that? Sonny Williams, that's one of those astronauts who was stuck up there in space on the space station, who never seemed that worried about it. And that's the second lady, Usha Vance, who's currently, they're doing like a craft section now. They just read a book. They were taking questions. You can see members of the Secret Service are back there. You can always pick out members of the Secret Service because they're the ones that aren't having fun because, you know, they have a job of protecting some of the most important people in the world. And they're just, you know, in the back looking like Secret Service members. So we got a camera that's bouncing all around because they're trying, ooh, we're getting hugs from, I think, okay, so they're going to do a static electricity thing here. That's kind of cool. I will tell you, as the father of a 5-year-old, one of the trickiest things to do in the summer is keep your child entertained. And so you're trying to do as many like crafts that you can Google as possible. And so, okay, there's a kid with a balloon on his head. They've all got balloons on their heads. Yes, this is a great way to learn about static electricity because if you rub it like that, it will create the static electricity and then it will stick to your head, correct? So let's see if these balloons stick to the heads of kids in Houston here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
All right, so I see our kindergarten through 2nd grade really busy with their gloves and their puzzle. Make sure you have that one hand behind your back that you can't use. Make sure you're only using your hand with the glove on. Our 3rd through 5th grade, that static electricity, I see it going, it's working. You're picking up some poly beads, which is your moon dust. Remember, it simulates moon dust. And you have material in there. I think you have some foil, you have some felt material, you have some vinyl, and you have some copper wire. You want to see which of those are going to take your polyethylene, your moon dust off your helmet the best. So what material is going to work best for you? You know, we have a material scientist in the room. I'm going to have her tell you about what she does and how material science works.
So we have a few of us that are doing an experiment right now with the balloons. And what we're getting is we're getting electrostatic electricity that is building up. So the dust or the particles are attracted and they're sticking to the balloon. And so what we can do is we can try some of these different materials, the aluminum, the plastic, and the copper. And the copper is try it last and tell me what you think is the best one. Over here, this group, which one did you think worked the best to move the particles?
This one. The black one.
Let's see. Which one worked best to move the particles?
This one.
Let's see.
My hands.
It looks like you're trying to get it off, but it's sticking. Try here with this one too.
This is bringing me such great joy. Ben Handelman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk, because we're looking live at this event in Houston. We're always dangerous when you give kids balloons and say bounce this off your head, and there's like 200 of them. But Sunny Williams is with the second lady. She's an astronaut. She's with the second lady as they were reading books, doing this summer event. These kids are from all over the country in this room. They are pretty lucky to be there in Houston talking about space stuff with like real astronauts. This was my dream as a kid, to be in a room with real astronauts. And well, it was always my dream to go to space camp. And this seems like we're pretty close to being at space camp, right? This is what you would do at space camp. So pretty cool stuff. We'll keep watching that from Houston as that live feed is in there. Got a new feed that just popped in. I got to take a quick break. We'll be back in 2 minutes here on the Wisconsin Live Desk.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Handelman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. I want to get you guys out to Philadelphia. There's a serial rapist on the loose, and police are giving an update. Let's listen in.
Wearing all black clothing, possible facial hair. In the fourth incident, which occurred on 8/3 at approximately 1:06 a.m. at 400 South 15th Street, the complainant reported after leaving a bar, she was walking south on 15th Street towards her vehicle that was parked on South Street between 15th and 16th. When she stated the offender grabbed her from behind and indecently assaulted her on the highway. In this incident, the male is described as a black male, dark complexion, thin build, 5'11" to 6'2", with long dreadlocks, wearing a short sleeve shirt and gray sweatpants. And in the final incident, which occurred on 8/3 at 2500 Webster Street, and this occurred in the 17th District at about 12:30 p.m. The complainant reported that while opening her garage door, the offender grabbed her from behind and sexually assaulted her on the highway. that in this instance, the male was described as a black male, approximately 30 years old, 6 feet, slim, athletic build, wearing a white tank top and possibly some clothing that was red or green. And those were the 5 incidents.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, sorry, you get here a little late. It was the, I believe it's the same offender.
Oh. Yes. Yes. So just based on the modus operandi, the physical description, and just the basic close proximity of the incidents, we believe it's the same offender.
All right, that's Philadelphia. We're getting an update on what they believe is a serial rapist on the loose out there, as police giving an update. That woman gave a whole update. You can see her smiling there because she gave the whole update, and then a reporter showed up late, and she had to give the whole update again. So that's what's going on in that room. Get you out to D.C. That's the governor of Iowa speaking at a Make America Healthy Again event. That's Kim Reynolds, the governor of Iowa. Let's listen in.
Initiatives possible. They've been incredible partners throughout the process. And Secretary Kennedy, we're looking at what we can do this next legislative session to adopt some of the MAHA policies as well. So I really appreciate the flexibility and the innovative approach that they've encouraged and allowed us to take. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kim Reynolds. Look forward to it. And Bobby said, wait, what are you doing Saturday? I said, it's a steer show. We're going to be showing 1,200-pound animals at the Iowa State Fair. So just to clarify, stay tuned. Next, Governor Patrick Morrisey of West Virginia, no greater warrior. Really, I think Secretary Kennedy, it was one of his first visits, was to visit you to talk about this in West Virginia. As the former Attorney General of West Virginia, watching you fight for the people of your state has been very inspiring. Congratulations today. You're one of the states that we're signing, and we're just so grateful for your leadership. Governor Morrisey.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry about that. Well, thank you very much, Secretary Rollins, and it's wonderful to be here today. What a beautiful building to be at the Department of Agriculture. It's an incredible place, and I think everyone up here on the stage, Secretary Kennedy, Governor Reynolds, she's been a real leader among the governors for a long time. Commissioner McCary, they're doing a lot of great work, and work that's long overdue. I know that the collective group here, their leadership, and their commitment to making America healthy again, I think it's already making a huge difference in our country. And I'd also like to make sure we thank the person responsible for it all. President Trump has picked really good people within his cabinet and these agency heads, and he's giving them the ability to enact fundamental change that really help make America reach her potential. It's inspiring, and I'm glad to be a part of it. Now, there's no way around it when it comes to West Virginia. Unfortunately, we're ranked at or near the bottom of a lot of the tough public health metrics. We lead the country, or near leading in the country, in obesity, in diabetes, in a lot of the chronic conditions that have really been disabling our people. Usually at the top of the list for more people who are disabled in our state than virtually any other. Our kids, they're diagnosed with ADHD at rates that are well above the national average. And we have one of the lowest life expectancy rates in the United States. Now that's the bad news. And I believe in telling the truth to the American people about where we are, because that's going to make the rise all the more better when West Virginia is able to reach her potential and to get healthy again. The good news today is that we all have the power to change it. And I think the people on stage here today, the wonderful staffs who are working at the federal level and the state level to make that happen, I think you're going to start to see some needle movement in all these categories. You see, I want all West Virginians to have happy, long, healthy, and purposeful lives, spending time with friends and family and doing things that matter. Earlier this year, alongside Secretary Kennedy in Martinsburg, I signed legislation making West Virginia the first state in the country to restrict the number of the artificial dyes in the schools. We need to clean up and get the crap out of the food. And in West Virginia, we're taking the lead. That law has gone into effect. It's already started right now. And beginning this year, kids in West Virginia will no longer be exposed to these harmful dyes and chemicals at the schools. And there'll be more changes in the future. We're very proud of this achievement, and we're happy to work with other states and school districts across the country to see additional changes that help people get healthier. Now, during that visit in Martinsburg, we talked about a number of other pillars of health that my administration would focus on to benefit the health of West Virginians. Along with cleaning up the food, we're trying to promote fitness and making healthy food choices. I'm happy to report, Secretary Kennedy, that our Mountaineer Mile efforts, that's a statewide fitness challenge that we asked our citizens to be involved in. It's spreading all across West Virginia, and there's a Mountaineer Mile in every one of our state parks, and I can volunteer. I have followed through to do the Mountaineer Mile every single day since I met with you. I'm going to do a lot more of that. Making sure that we're healthy, exercising is a core pillar. But there's more that we need to do, and that's part of why we're here today. We know that the changes to the SNAP program, they're long overdue. And that's why I'm so happy to work with all of our federal partners to make sure that the tax dollars is going toward nutritious foods. I'm always fond of saying that the SNAP, the N for SNAP, it stands for nutrition. But unfortunately, over a long period of time, that wasn't always the case. So I'm happy now that in West Virginia, taxpayers are not going to be subsidizing soda and these sugary drinks. Things that
Ben Haleman here from the Wisconsin Live Desk. That's Patrick Morrissey. That's the governor of West Virginia. The Iowa governor is in this room as well as the RFK, this health secretary, as they're talking about a Make America Healthy Again initiative. West Virginia, as the governor just noted, often cited as one of the least healthy states, if not the least healthy state in the country. So talking about some of the changes they'll be doing there. All right, we're running out of time here on the Wisconsin Live Desk, and I've got new kangaroo.
This is the Wisconsin Live Desk.
Ben Haleman from the Wisconsin Live Desk. Well, friends, I promised you kangaroo news. You're going to get kangaroo news. Just in from the Racine Zoo. Meet Gigi and Winnie. The newest red kangaroos have arrived. I'm not sure which one's Winnie and which one's Gigi. And despite them not looking that excited in this picture, I'm told they are very excited to be at the Racine Zoo, where they will join fellow red kangaroo Blair, as well as western gray kangaroos Noel and Josie and Julia. Oh, and the common wallaroos, Jiemba and Alinga at the Walkabout Creek. They had a 30-day quarantine. They come from a zoo in South Carolina, the Riverbank Zoo and Garden. Apparently they have a garden. Columbia, South Carolina, the capital there. They came in June. They've been in quarantine, but apparently they're out of quarantine. You can go check them out, and they're getting along with all the other kangaroos and the wallaroos. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not 100% sure what a wallaroo is, but I think it's like a wallaby mixed with a kangaroo, if I were to guess. And it's down there at the Racine Zoo. So congratulations to the zoo, as they've got some new animals for you guys to go check out. All right, thanks for joining us here on the Wisconsin Live Desk. Just a reminder, all the stories we talked about today, you can find it here on the app. You're on your Fox Local app. And Fox Now is next, so you'll get up to date on all the latest, and we'll have the news coming up at 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, all day long. Just stay here on the app. Hey, thanks for joining us. Same place, same time tomorrow.
Volunteer, I have followed through to do the mountain mural every single day since I met with you. I'm going to do a lot more of that. Making sure that we're healthy, exercising is a core pillar. But there's more that we need to do, and that's part of why we're here today. We know that the changes to the SNAP program